Hey everyone, SoranotRoxas here, once again bringing you another movie review. I know this one is really late because Cinderella came out earlier this year. I don't know the exact date. What took me so long to see this, well, to get this review out, is because I just finally saw this last night, and the movie I decided to go see was Jurassic World, so. Cinderella was kind of put on the back burner, and I totally forgot about it. But I remember saying during my one of my other reviews, I think it was the Maleficent one, and I think on one of my other videos, is this Disney's revival era, where I talked about Disney's animated movies as well as their live action movies, and I said, well, is Disney like really coming back on the rise and everything? And although I was skeptical about the live action movies, their animated movies right now are doing really good. So with that being said, I promised that I would do a Cinderella review regardless whether people want to see it or not. So, I promised myself that, and I'm going to try to keep that promise. So, again, a phone call here. Hold on one sec. Okay, we're back. I actually got a call from somebody. Anyway, so Cinderella 2015. I'm gonna be honest here. I kind of enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot better than Maleficent. If you guys want to know my full-on opinion on Maleficent, you can go check out that review. This one, I'm going to keep it short here. I'm not going to keep it as long as the Jurassic World one. And mostly because there's not too many problems I have with it. There are a few changes that they do, but they still stick to the fairy tale aspect, and it still feels like a live-action fairy tale. Whereas Maleficent tried to do something big and epic, and at the same time, try to change some things that really didn't need to be changed. They tried to go down a whole different route with Maleficent, but they went down a route where Frozen had already done that and done it better. So, with Cinderella, it at least, when it made changes, it went with those changes. It made sense. It didn't try to go back to the, we still have to keep it somewhat like the original story. And they do keep it like the original story. It's still Cinderella. There's not much to spoil here or to explain, except for that one of the characters which were good in the original Cinderella 1950s classic is actually a bad guy this time around. That's literally like the only difference. And the king is dying from some random disease that they don't explain. I don't know why they did that. I thought the king was pretty awesome in the animated version, so it's kind of sad that they just kind of. He's pretty nice here. He's a cool guy here. So it's kind of sad that they just sort of kill him off, or he's dying in a way. I guess me saying that he dies is not. It's not a big thing. It's not a big spoiler. Spoiler: he dies. It happens. It happens. Closer towards the end of the movie, I guess you can say, but they already say like in the beginning. Well, not in the beginning, in the middle part, because this movie's like 2 hours long. They say in like the middle that he's not gonna make it, he's not gonna live long, so he's gonna die. Anyway, so what are the changes that they do make? Cinderella's name is Ella, although she later goes by Cinderella, so what was the point of changing her name in the first place? I don't know. You could have just called her Cinderella throughout the whole thing. Why have her name change if you're just going to change it back to the fairy tale version of Cinderella? Anyway, the rats, the mice, well, they look like rats now, but, remember the mice, Gus and all of them from the original Cinderella? They don't really sing, and they don't sing in here. They don't really talk. They do say like little mumbles and stuff like that, but it's inaudible. You can't understand what they're saying. You can't hear them. They're just basically making noises. Lucifer is in here. He's Lucifer the cat. Trust me, he's downplayed like hell. I swear he only has like two or three scenes in this entire movie. He only chases the mice once, but whatever. You can argue whether the parts with the animals actually added on anything to the Cinderella story, and a lot of people say, well, it doesn't. They're just there just to be kind of cutesy and just entertain kids because, oh, look, the furry creatures, oh, you know, the kids like that stuff. And I enjoyed the mice myself. I like Gus Gus and all them. Nice to see him in here, but as a live action, well, not really live action. They're CGI. All the animals are CGI'd. They add lizards now to the animal kingdom that they have in Cinderella, and a goose. But they're all likable, you know. It's a part where they get turned into, you know, the mice get turned into the horses, and then the other animals get turned into people. Besides the lizard men looking kind of creepy, they still are kind of likable. Okay, so besides that, we actually get to meet Cinderella's mother, who once again dies off. She's not in there for too long, guys. She's only like less than 15 minutes, possibly 10 minutes, I guess possibly about 10 minutes, because within 10 minutes they already made changes to this thing. Cinderella doesn't start off like a little girl and she kind of grows up into this world with the evil stepmother. No, she actually has a family and she loses her mother, and her mother says always be kind and generous and things like that, and you know, I guess good things will happen to you. That's all you have to be. And the father as well is there. Although the father got a mention in the original series, in the original movie, and he dies off from whatever, some random disease once again. Here, they actually explain how the parents die, and they do die off from some random disease. They went ill somewhere and they just die. So, Cinderella is forced to stay with her evil stepmother, who her father ends up marrying later on before his death. He just so happens to die like a week later after he finished marrying this woman. Don't worry, it's not the evil stepmother's fault at all. It's actually something that's quite sad. But here's what I don't understand. The evil stepmother kind of tricks or gets Cinderella to start working for her and her evil stepsisters, because the father's dead, you know, there's no money coming in, so they can't pay the servants that works for them. So because they can't pay the servants, Cinderella has to do all the work. Okay, that's understandable, but here's what makes that work in the original movie and doesn't quite work here. Cinderella is already like 25 years old. Okay, Cinderella is like already in her early 20s, right? When all this stuff starts happening, her father dies off and everything. So she lived with her father for a long time. In the original Cinderella, when her parents died, she was a little girl. So it was understandable that the evil stepmother over the years kind of molded her to be this sort of house servant. Even though Cinderella was too young to actually take over, you know, the property and everything and manage all that stuff. Here, it doesn't really make sense because she's, like I said, in her early 20s. She is older. There was no goddamn way that she should be being in servitude to these people, to her stepmother. It doesn't make sense. If anything, they're in her house. Like, you are in my house, okay? I'm not in your house. This was my father's land. You know, even the father says we've owned this place for over 600 years. The family's been here. And Cinderella's just like, well, father died, mother died, so I guess it belongs to the evil step. No, it's your fucking place. Why don't you take control? Anyway. So besides that, everything else pretty much goes like the regular Cinderella story, except that her and the prince actually meet one time in the forest, which is very similar to Sleeping Beauty. So I guess I kind of like that different turn there. Also, they give the prince more of a personality. He's played by Richard Madden, who is just freaking awesome. You know, if you're a Games of Thrones fan, you know what I'm talking about. There's actually two actors in here from Games of Thrones, and they just so happen to know each other. But anyway, so I would say besides that, you know, just a couple of those changes don't really work out. I think everything else kind of does. let's not sugarcoat it here. The movie was definitely made just to sell dresses to little girls. That's freaking obvious. But it does well as a sort of retelling of Cinderella, bringing in some new elements, and yet at the same time following the original story. So I kind of like it, whereas Maleficent just sort of went all over the place and just tried to just remake the story. And that's fine if you're going to go all the way with that. It's just that the ending that they came out with on that, I was just like, okay, it's getting a little ridiculous even for a fairy tale movie. Here it actually ends up working for me. One thing I would say, although the acting's fine overall, I think Cinderella's character, or Ella, the girl who played Ella, what was her name, Lily James or something like that, I think that's her. She was okay. Everybody else seemed like to be really into their role and everything. Besides from a couple of scenes, I felt like she was kind of phoning it in, and I guess there's nothing you can really do, whereas, okay, Maleficent, it kind of made sense that Aurora would be sort of like this happy-go-lucky type girl, even though, Aurora in the original Sleeping Beauty didn't really have much of a personality. Cinderella in the original Cinderella movie had a lot of personality. You know, she would get mad and upset, and she would get anxious and whatnot, aggressive. And this Cinderella doesn't really have much of a personality. You feel sorry for her for what she's going through and what's happening to her. And, you know, there are a couple of scenes where she just breaks down and cries, and she's like, you know, I can't take this anymore. That was genuinely human. That was human emotion there. But then you get to one part, especially towards the end. Remember the part where the evil stepmother locks her in the attic, and she locks the door, she closes the key. And in the original movie, Cinderella's like doing everything she can to get out this room so she can see the prince and everything, and they can get married. Here, she's just like, well, she locked me in an attic, so what I'm going to do is dance and sing to myself. What? No! No, lady, she locked you up there for hours on end. You should at least attempt once to try to get out. She doesn't attempt at all. It's actually the mice that actually help her get out of there. And even then, all they really do is open a window, whereas in the original movie, they do everything they can to help her, per her instructions. Here, when she gets locked in the attic, she's just like, well, you know, that's fine. I don't really care anymore. I'm too happy to do anything else. Seriously, she's up there dancing and twirling around, and it makes no sense. It's totally out of character. Even when the other scenes where it feels like it was out of character for her, this one really felt out of character, and I'm just like, what? That doesn't make sense. But overall, the acting is pretty good, and you know, I think they did what they could with Cinderella. I think she should have had a little bit more personality. I would like to see her get mad a little bit more. She seems to just take everything in stride, so to speak. Like I said, the prince is more interesting. Everyone else has a personality and they're well acted. I also like the way they make this world looks. This does look like a fairy tale world, and I'm sure they used a lot of CGI. They definitely did. But it looks nice. Shit, the mice look more realistic than the raptors do in Jurassic World. The evil stepmother. I can understand her in the original movie being sort of jealous of Cinderella because of her youth and beauty and everything. But when you have the evil stepmother played by Cate Blanchett, who is very pretty for her age, you know, she's not really all that old, and she's very beautiful. It's kind of weird when she's like, oh, I'm jealous of Cinderella because she's so beautiful. Like, really, lady? Have you looked in the mirror? You're hot. It's like, why are you so jealous of her? Even the evil stepsisters didn't look that bad. They could have made them look a lot worse. Cinderella kind of just looks average to me. To be honest, I think the evil stepmother is a little bit more prettier than her, even at that age, and so that didn't make any sense. So people can say that was kind of wrong casting. If anything, Cate Blanchett should have played an older Cinderella or something like that, but she does fine. I think she does really good as the evil stepmother. I like these characters. The villains, they do good. The side characters, they do good. It's Cinderella that's a bit dull, but everyone else works. The fairy godmother, I think, is played by Helen Bonham Carter, who I just love. I love this woman. Her scene is so quick, though. I mean, it's literally just like over within a span of 10 minutes. I mean, it goes really freaking fast. And I like this character, and and I'm like, no, stay longer. Why don't you talk for longer? She's just like, okay, Cinderella, let's get all your stuff going. Okay, here's the pumpkin. Here's the rats. Let's turn them into horses. Let's turn this into a chauffeur. Okay, that's it. We're done. Okay, here's the dress. Here's the shoes. Goodbye. That's it. It's that freaking quick. And it's like, could you take a moment to talk to each other or something like that? And she's just like, not even really looking Cinderella in the face, just sort of doing this and that and that and this. Here's some comedic moment, and that's it. She's gone, and she's never in the movie again. It's kind of weird. I don't know whether she had another project she had to do, but it just seems weird how fast they move that. In the original, Cinderella and the fairy godmother. They felt like they had somewhat of a connection, even though the fairy godmother doesn't really show up ever again. I think not till the end. I think she shows up again. But anyway, it's just weird how they kind of rush that. And Helen Bonham Carter does a really nice job playing these sort of bizarre characters. So it's like Johnny Depp in Into the Woods. Even he got more screen time than that. And I would say this is a better Cinderella than the one in Into the Woods. Like, completely. But alright, I think I talked long enough. Final thoughts on it. Well, Cinderella does seem to work, at least for me, on a level of telling the original story, but also adding new things. And these new things do connect a lot better than they did in the Maleficent movie, and they work overall. The setting's fine, the characters are likable. The animals, for what little screen time they get, are pretty entertaining. There's nothing really, like, outcry wrong here. Guys, yeah, I think the movie works. I actually really enjoy it. I'm surprised of how well it was. I thought it was actually pretty good. So, with that being said, 1 out of 4 stars. What would I give this? Definitely give it a thumbs up. And I'll probably give it a 3 out of 4. I don't think I can go any higher than that. Like I said, there are some problems there, but overall, I think it works as a film. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, most likely you have already seen it. It's not going to take away from the animated version. The animated version, I think, is still a bit better. Also, remember the dress ripping scene from the original Cinderella? Remember how much that, like, psychologically tore you up, and it was kind of like a deep, dark scene? Here is just like, that's it. She gets like 2 rips in her dress and she goes and she cries. I'm like, really, Cinderella? You did so well making the dress yourself with the help of the mice, which was such a short scene. Why don't you just go, just do like this, sew it up, do like this and just sew it up and just go like that. The dress still looked fine. It only had like 2 rips in it. She was already like, oh, I can't go to the ball because my dress has 2 rips in it. Really? Really? Okay, so that was dumb. Alright, this review is going on much longer than what it's supposed to be. Like I said, Cinderella, I end up liking it. Almost on every level it works. Writing, the script is pretty good. There's nothing really to argue about. Especially for a movie that was just made to sell dresses, it actually was entertaining. I wouldn't mind seeing this again, to be honest with you. As long as I don't have to see Maleficent again. Okay, so, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Gonna have some more reviews out for you guys. And now, I'm gonna go play Batman Arkham Knight. Catch you later.